Hey you, welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. She's noticing this 5 physical turnoffs that make women over 60 swipe left. Let's get into it. What if I told you that most men lose attraction not because they're not good enough, but because they never learned how women actually think? For years, men have been given surface-level advice about dating, relationships, and attraction. But the real truth, the psychology behind what women feel, notice, and respond to, is rarely explained honestly. This channel exists to change that. Here we break down female psychology, attraction dynamics, emotional signals, and the silent behaviors women notice but rarely say out loud. Not manipulation, not tricks, just raw understanding that helps men become stronger, wiser, and more aware in relationships and in life. If you're a man who wants to understand what women truly notice, what creates attraction, and what silently destroys it, you're in the right place. Subscribe now to Decode Her Mind, because once you understand the psychology, everything changes. Let me tell you something most men over 60 never hear out loud. Sometimes the thing pushing women away isn't your age. It's the signals your body is sending without you even realizing it. You've lived decades. You've built stories, scars, wisdom, and strength. But somewhere along the way, many men start believing a quiet lie. That attraction stops mattering after a certain age. That once the hair turns gray and the wrinkles settle in, the game is over. But the truth is far more uncomfortable than that. Attraction doesn't disappear with age. It simply becomes more honest. Women over 40, 50, even 60 themselves aren't chasing perfection. They're not expecting the body of a 25-year-old. What they're looking for is energy, presence, and the quiet signs of a man who still respects himself. And when those signals disappear, attraction fades fast. One of the biggest physical turnoffs women notice in men over 60 is not weight, wrinkles, or gray hair. It's neglect. You can see it instantly. The posture that collapses inward like the world already won. The slow shuffle of a man who stopped moving years ago. The clothing that looks like it hasn't changed since the early 2000s. None of these things scream old. They scream, I gave up. And women feel that energy before you even say hello. You might think appearance is shallow. Many men do. But attraction isn't about vanity. It's about signals. When a man carries himself with awareness, stands straight, walks with purpose, and dresses like he still belongs in the present world, something shifts. Women notice, not because you're trying to impress them, but because it tells them something deeper. This man is still alive inside. On the other hand, when a man looks like he stopped caring about how he shows up in the world, it sends a different message entirely. It whispers fatigue. It whispers surrender. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most men never hear. Women aren't rejecting age. They're reacting to the energy of decline. Think about the men you've met who are 65, 70, even older. Yet somehow they still command attention the moment they enter a room. Their hair is gray. Their skin shows time, but there's something different about them. They walk with life in their body. Their clothes fit well. Their eyes are alert. Their presence feels intentional. They don't look like they're waiting for life to end. They look like they're still participating in it. And that difference alone changes how women respond. You see, attraction at this stage of life becomes less about raw physical beauty and more about signals of vitality. A woman doesn't expect perfection, but she does notice effort. The effort to stay active, the effort to stand tall, the effort to look like a man who still respects the life he's been given. Because when that effort disappears, the message becomes painfully clear. If he doesn't value himself anymore, how could he value anyone else? And that's the moment attraction quietly shuts down. There's another physical signal women notice almost immediately. And most men over 60 don't realize it's happening. It's not your wrinkles. It's not the gray hair. It's the way your body carries exhaustion. You've probably seen it before without thinking about it. A man walks into a room, and before he even speaks, something about him feels heavy. His shoulders sink forward. His eyes look tired. His movements feel slow. Not with calm confidence, but with quiet defeat. Women feel this instantly. And the problem isn't age. The problem is energy. A man can be 70 and still move like someone who owns the room. His steps are deliberate. His posture tells a story of a life still being lived. But when a man moves like life has already drained him, it creates one of the strongest subconscious turnoffs women experience. Because attraction has always been tied to vitality, not youth, vitality. And vitality shows up through the body first. It shows up in the way you walk across a room, in the way your shoulders open instead of collapsing, in the way you look people in the eye instead of staring at the floor. Many men believe women lose interest because their bodies age, but women are far more sensitive to something else entirely: momentum. They're drawn to men who still feel like they're moving forward in life, not slowly disappearing into the background. When a man's body language communicates that he's checked out, attraction fades quickly. Think about it this way. Your body is always speaking before your mouth ever opens. If your posture says, "I'm tired of life," people will believe it. If your presence says, "I'm still here, I still have fire left," people feel that too, women especially. And here's where many men accidentally make things worse. They start shrinking themselves. They move less. They stop exercising. They stop exploring new places. They stop doing the small physical habits that keep a man's body engaged with the world. Without realizing it, their physical presence slowly fades, not because their body can't move anymore, but because they stopped asking it to. And when that happens, something deeper disappears too. Confidence. Not the loud show-off kind, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your body still belongs in the world. Women notice when a man still inhabits his body with intention. They notice when he walks like someone who still expects life to surprise him. They notice when he sits upright, listens attentively, and moves with calm purpose. And they also notice the opposite. When a man physically looks like he's already surrendered to time, it signals something much deeper than aging. It signals withdrawal, and nothing drains attraction faster than the feeling that someone has quietly stepped out of the game of life. But the truth is, most of the time that decline isn't permanent. It's a habit, and habits can always change. Another physical turnoff women quietly notice in men over 60 has nothing to do with muscles, hairlines, or body fat. It's grooming. Now, before you dismiss that word, understand something important. Women are not expecting you to look like a fashion model or a celebrity. They're not scanning your face for perfect skin or flawless style. What they're actually noticing is something much simpler: care. Grooming is one of the clearest signals of self-respect. When a man takes time to trim his beard or shave properly, when his hair looks maintained rather than forgotten, when his clothes look clean and intentional rather than thrown on without thought, it communicates something powerful without saying a single word. It says, "I still take care of myself." And that matters far more than many men realize, because the opposite sends a message just as loudly. When grooming disappears, it doesn't signal rugged masculinity the way some men believe. It signals neglect, a beard that looks wild rather than intentional, hair that seems forgotten rather than styled, clothes that look worn out, faded, or poorly fitted. None of these things scream masculine maturity. They whisper something far less attractive. They whisper that the man stopped paying attention to himself. Women notice these details faster than men do, not because they're judgmental, but because grooming reflects awareness. It shows whether someone still cares about the image they bring into the world. And awareness is attractive at any age. There's something quietly powerful about a man who looks put together without trying too hard. His shirt fits properly. His shoes look clean. His hair and beard look deliberate rather than accidental. He doesn't look flashy. He looks intentional. That word intentional is what makes the difference. When a man presents himself with quiet care, women sense stability. They sense discipline. They sense pride in who he is and how he lives. But when grooming disappears completely, something else begins to show: a lack of presence. It's not about expensive clothes or trendy styles. It's about showing that you're still engaged with the world around you. Because when a man stops paying attention to the details of his own appearance, it subtly suggests he stopped paying attention to life itself. An attraction rarely grows around that kind of energy. Women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for a man who still respects himself enough to show up in the world with care. And sometimes the difference between attraction and disinterest is as simple as a haircut, a trimmed beard, a clean pair of shoes, and clothes that fit the man wearing them. Small details, but powerful signals. One of the most misunderstood physical turnoffs women notice in men over 60 has nothing to do with appearance at all. It's hygiene. Now, this might sound obvious. Most men believe they're already doing the basics: showering, brushing teeth, putting on deodorant. But the truth is, many men slowly relax these habits as the years go by. Not intentionally, just gradually. Maybe the cologne disappears. Maybe dental care becomes less consistent. Maybe clothes get worn a little longer before being washed. Individually, these things might seem small, but to a woman standing close to you, they are impossible to ignore. Scent alone can shape attraction faster than conversation ever could. When a man smells clean, fresh, and cared for, it creates a subtle comfort around him. Women relax in his presence because the signals feel safe and intentional. But when hygiene slips, the effect is immediate. It doesn't matter how interesting the conversation is, the discomfort takes over. And here's what many men don't realize. Good hygiene doesn't just prevent a negative impression, it actively creates attraction. Clean skin, fresh breath, subtle fragrance, well-maintained clothes. These signals communicate something powerful about a man's mindset. They suggest discipline, they suggest self-awareness, and they suggest that this man still values how he shows up in the world. Women don't expect luxury or extravagance, but they do notice effort. A man who takes pride in staying clean and fresh communicates something deeper than appearance. He communicates presence. He communicates that he hasn't drifted into the background of his own life. And at any age, that message carries weight because attraction, especially later in life, becomes less about physical perfection and more about emotional comfort. Women want to feel relaxed around a man. They want to feel safe, sharing space with him, sitting close to him, laughing without subtle discomfort lingering in the air. Hygiene plays a quiet but powerful role in creating that comfort. When it's present, no one talks about it, but when it's missing, it becomes impossible to ignore. And the hardest part is that many men never receive honest feedback about this. Friends don't mention it. Strangers stay polite. So the man continues moving through the world, unaware that something small is quietly pushing people away. But once a man becomes aware of it, the solution is simple. Care for yourself like someone who still deserves attention, because you do. The final physical turnoff women notice in men over 60 is perhaps the most powerful one of all, and it has very little to do with the body itself. It's the absence of life in a man's eyes. You can see it the moment someone walks into a room. Some men carry decades on their faces, but their eyes still shine with curiosity. They look around the world like there's still something left to discover. Other men carry a very different expression. Their eyes look distant, detached, like they're watching life happen instead of participating in it. Women feel that difference immediately because attraction has never been just about the body. It's about spirit. When a man's eyes still hold interest in the world, conversation flows differently. His laughter feels genuine. His presence feels warm and inviting. But when the light disappears from a man's gaze, something changes. He may still speak politely. He may still appear calm, yet there's an emotional distance that makes connection difficult. Women don't expect men over 60 to behave like 20-year-olds. In fact, maturity is often far more attractive. But maturity combined with curiosity, that's powerful. It's the energy of a man who has lived long enough to understand life, yet still finds joy in experiencing it. And when that energy is present, age becomes almost irrelevant. You've probably met men like this before, men in their late 60s or 70s who still laugh easily, who still ask questions, who still explore ideas, places, hobbies, and conversations with genuine interest. Their eyes reveal something simple. They haven't checked out of life. And women are naturally drawn to that kind of presence because it signals possibility. The opposite, however, creates distance. When a man's expression feels empty or disengaged, it suggests he's already emotionally stepped away from the world. And that quiet withdrawal becomes one of the strongest turnoffs women experience. Not because they're cruel, but because connection requires life on both sides. So, here's the real truth. Many men over 60 were never told. Attraction at this stage of life isn't about fighting aging. It's about refusing to disappear. Stand tall. Care for yourself. Stay curious about the world and let your presence show that your story is still being written. Before you go, I want to ask you something personal. Which of these 5 signals do you think most men overlook without realizing it? Tell me your answer in the comments. And if this message resonated with you, take 1 second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who might need to hear it today. Because sometimes the smallest changes in how a man shows up can completely change how the world responds to him.